Hey everyone, Charting Man Dan from ChartGuys.com. You know, behind every single video that we put out every single day, there's a wonderful community of traders that we want to invite you to be a part of. Try the free 7-day trial and gain access to our live market broadcasts every morning and afternoon, interact with hundreds of like-minded traders, or take part in one of our dedicated chat rooms, each led by an analyst that's there to answer your questions in real time. Our trial is risk-free with absolutely no commitment or credit card required to experience the TCG community. For those looking for a head start in technical analysis, check out our entries and exits course in the link below in the description. Get up to speed with the fundamentals of TCG technical analysis and experience over 5 hours of great community-driven trading education. Checking in on the biotech sector, XBI IBB CELG and GILD daily weekly time frame. So XBI, the bulls put together a pretty nice bounce over the past couple of weeks. It's still a lower high compared to where we are coming from, lower highs and lower lows. The bulls are building a couple of support levels on the way up, but in order to break this trend, we have to break 70.52, which is the most recent lower high. So there's still a lot of work to do for the bulls. They need to build a base of support, which they are doing a decent job of so far, and then we need to see follow through up to that 70.52 resistance level. You can see the Bollinger Bands are tightening in. We've rejected from this 50-day moving average resistance 3 out of the last 6 days. That 50-day resistance is 69.05, so we know the bulls have to close over that to see some upside from there, and we can see this was acting as support on the way up. Or actually, it was really the way down, but it did act as support, and now it's acting as resistance. So watching that key level from here. And in terms of support, we do have a couple higher lows to be watching. The first level of support is here at 67.46. If we lose 67.46, that's a setback for the bulls, and we're looking back down in the $66 range. We bounced off of 66 even and 66.27. So that is a 67.46 important level that the bulls do need to hold. The high that we have hit on this bounce so far is 69 on the dot. So that 50-day moving average is going to be above that level, and it's going to require higher highs in order to close above that level. So the weekly time frame for XBI, inside bar last week, we did get a bull break to start this week. Didn't really see much follow through and a small tight range. So we do still have the middle Bollinger Band as support. That's continuing to ascend to the upside. We are on the verge of a bearish MACD and a bearish TCG cross of the 4-period and 8-period exponential moving average, the 4-period crossing the 8-period to the downside. So we do need to be cautious of that, and if we do lose this middle Bollinger Band, those will very clearly follow through. So it's all about the daily time frame, in my opinion, and whether or not the bulls can get over the 50-day moving average resistance and continue building these higher lows and higher highs. We have been forming higher lows and higher highs pretty much all of April, and that needs to continue. We did see bearish momentum today. Not a very bearish day, but certainly not the kind of the end of the week that the bulls were looking for. IBB, I continue to point it out in every biotech video I do, IBB is always weaker than XBI, and we've been tracking these two for over a year at this point, almost close to 2 years, and it's just consistently on the weekly time frame. You can see clear reasons that IBB is weaker than XBI. So if I were ever having to choose to go bearish in one or the other, I would absolutely short IBB over XBI just because of that weakness. So you can see here we have the same lower high and lower low pattern, but the bulls haven't even put together any kind of bounce. We have rejected from this daily middle Bollinger Band. Look how many times in the past month, I'm counting at least 9 times in the last month, we've rejected from this level. Increasing bear volume on this past rejection today, and we're just looking down at a couple levels of support, 286.20, 285.85, 285.91. Break those levels and we continue to lower lows, and we look to the moving averages down here in the 232 or the 282s and the 283s. So the bears are still in control, as they have been since this pullback started, and on the weekly time frame we can see that weakness. We still have the middle Bollinger Band support, and we're watching the channel between the 100-week moving average resistance and the 20-week moving average support. And you can see that we are on the verge here as well on this bearish MACD and bearish TCG cross. So in that regard, we are in a similar setup on the weekly time frame, but not nearly seeing as strong of a bounce over the past 2 weeks like we have seen on XBI. CELG losing the 50-day moving average support, closing down near the low, and the bears are starting to take control here. And what the key level was this low of 122.17, 122.15, and that was our low of consolidation. We made another attempt to see continuation. We formed a lower high, and now breaking 122.15 is a lower low. We did still close above that level, so technically you could put your support line there, and we would still be holding it just barely, but we are close to seeing a lower high and a lower low, which changes from the higher low, higher high pattern we had seen and that obviously shifts momentum. So the weekly time frame, you can see that there's our lower high and lower low, first close below the exponential moving averages that we had seen, and it's a completely different setup than we had back here in October and November. Bull breakout, low of consolidation, lower high, higher low, and then a higher high with the bull break and continuation, whereas here we now have our low, lower high, and a lower low. So hitting that lower low is a different pattern than back here where we were able to hold a higher low. So the bears do have momentum here. We're on the verge of a bearish MACD cross, and we'll see if we see further follow through to the downside and break the low of this week. Next week, we will be on the verge of a bearish TCG cross as well. So the next support that I'm looking at after the low of this week of 121.71, I'd be looking down here, 121.21, and then there's a decent amount of room to the downside. So the bulls really want to hold that 121.21 level. Otherwise, because we saw such a strong move to the upside back at the end of February, we didn't build a ton of support in the low 120s. GILD is very weak, and we continue to see lower highs and lower lows, and there have been some people interested in GILD and the bullish position, and I just cannot get on board until we turn this middle Bollinger Band into support. Once I see a moving average level that continues to reject the price, I say, okay, I will absolutely give up a little bit of upside to give up a lot of risk by waiting for that level to become support. I'm not trying to time the bottom, not trying to be a hero here. I'm waiting for this moving average resistance to become support. So we're looking down at 65.70. We hit 65.75, obviously a weak close. Rejecting from this middle Bollinger Band again, that's at 66.75 and continues to drop to the downside. So we're in a very clear lower high, lower low pattern with no signs of it turning around as of right now. The weekly time frame shows that downtrend, and it's been a brutal downtrend. We were back up at $100, and here we are 35% lower in just about a year. So exponential weekly resistance, no bullish reversal candlesticks have been confirmed in a convincing way in months on GILD. So it's worth watching for a trend change, but until we get the middle Bollinger Band, the bulls don't really have any hope. So that's what we've got heading into next week. The biotech sector really not really showing us a ton of strength for XBI and IBB on the daily time frame. But like I said, XBI definitely has some support levels built, and the question will be, can the bulls get back over the 50-day moving average resistance? I appreciate you watching. We'll check back in next weekend. See you then.